Welcome to the Pub Sports Radio. Ian, October 22nd, we've got one NFL game tonight, one college football game tonight, and we'll preview both of them. Eagles-Giants, NFC least divisional matchup. Yes, I said least because that division is the worst in the NFL. And we've also got a Sun Belt matchup. If it's anything like the one we had a week ago last Thursday, where Arkansas State and Georgia State combined for 111 points, we should be in for a fun one. Arkansas State in action again tonight in a Thursday night college football game as they face Appalachian State. We'll preview that game as well. Before we get there, though, let's look back at World Series Game 2 last night in Major League Baseball. Tampa Bay Rays, although it got a little nervous for me holding a Rays bet, plus 122 last night in Game 2. I got a little nervous late in that game. That Dodgers lineup showed you last night they're never out of a game, and they did a very good job battling their way back from a deficit, making it interesting, closing the lead for Tampa Bay to 6-4 in the late innings. But they were able to hang on for the victory in the ninth inning with a good job by Aaron Loop and Diego Castillo at the end of the game, coming out of the bullpen, shutting down the Dodgers and preserving the Tampa Bay Game 2 victory 6-4. They got early runs. They finally got some offense. And how about Brandon Lau, who had a great regular season, was arguably the best hitter all season during the 60-game regular season for the Rays, but struggled during the postseason, has not really come through at the plate until last night. 2 home runs in the game for Brandon Lau last night. And finally, the Rays get some clutch hitting, a big 2-run double by Joey Wendell as well. The Rays finally getting their offense going, which had been a little bit stagnant the last few games. They get to Gonsolin and the Dodgers bullpen, and Blake Snell, up until the 5th inning when he finally ran out of gas. But the first 4 innings for Blake Snell were just magnificent. He was finding his spots. He was all over the strike zone, getting tons of swings and misses from the Dodger hitters. A very strong performance from Blake Snell, which is what I was expecting and hoping for from the lefty last night. And the Rays, with a loud, clear statement last night, we're not going to be an easy out in this World Series for the LA Dodgers. The series now tied at 1 game apiece. Game 3 set for Friday night with Charlie Morton and Walker Buehler. Buehler, your 2 starters for Game 3 on Friday night. We'll preview Game 3 on Friday's edition of the Ian Cameron Sports Report. All right, let's go to the 2 NFL games tonight. The 2 football games tonight. We'll start in the NFL. New York Giants, Philadelphia Eagles. We've got the Eagles 4.5, 5-point favorites, 44.5, 45 the total in this game. I am not having a bet on this game before the game. Maybe I get involved live in game. The New York Giants, this has been their point spread role. They have been outstanding in the road underdog role. 13-2, in fact, against the spread. Their last 15 as a road underdog. That's impressive right there. And this is a tough point spread range and point spread role to be going against the New York Giants. I'm concerned about doing that here in this game. They finally got their first win of the season against Washington. But what I heard from the New York Giants after that win was a lot of elation, a lot of happiness, and a lot of players with saying after that victory against Washington that we finally got our win. I hate it when players use that kind of statement. When you're a struggling team and you finally win that first football game, you know what I'd like you to say as a player? We need to build on it. That's just a start. We have to keep it going. We need to keep, try to use this to get on a run, get some momentum. I don't like hearing it when players say, oh, we finally got it. It makes it sound like they're content. Makes it sound like they're satisfied that they just won their first game of the season. So maybe that's where New York is as a team right now. Maybe they realize, we're not going anywhere. Any win we get, we're going to enjoy it. And it's not necessarily something we feel that we have the confidence to turn and parlay this, no pun intended, into a winning streak. So that worries me a little bit. The matchup kind of worries me for the Giants, especially on offense. Their offensive line to me is still horrific. They haven't been able to pass protect or run block adequately all season. And the best part of the Philadelphia defense is their front 7. I worry they stop the run, which they're capable of doing. I worry that they get pressure on Jones, who's been fumble prone and turnover prone when he's under pressure. That could be a matchup edge for the Eagles. And say what you will about the Philadelphia offense being just mangled with injuries, and they certainly are. I mean, Miles Sanders is the latest to go on the injury list at running back. Zach Ertz, the tight end, is gone as well. which leaves them without their two top tight ends, Zach Ertz, and already Dallas Goedert was injured. So you're going to see a lot of Richard Rodgers in the game tonight. He'll be the starting tight end most likely for the Eagles. I would expect him to get targeted a lot as well. And the Giants aren't great defending tight ends. So if you're looking at player props for this Thursday night game tonight, Richard Rodgers, receptions and receiving yards, that makes a lot of sense to me going into this game tonight for the Philadelphia Eagles. I do have to give Carson Wentz credit. And I think a lot of Eagles fans have, just been a little bit too harsh on him and laying too much of the blame for what's gone on this season with the Eagles on him. He's had a mash unit of an offensive line. He's had no skill position talent. I mean, Travis Fulgham has become his best weapon. He's had receivers injured. He hasn't even had Alshon Jeffrey yet this season. And Jeffrey's going to be out once again tonight for the Eagles. But there is some light at the end of the tunnel for this offense. They're going to have Deshaun Jackson back finally at receiver to finally give them another weapon along with Fulgham, who has emerged the last few weeks. And they get Lane Johnson back on the offensive line, which is absolutely a big addition to the Eagles' offensive line. That unit's performance with him, not with Lane Johnson on the field and Lane Johnson off the field and not playing, there is a big drop-off in that O-line without him. So getting him back is significant here for the Eagles going into this game, as well as Deshaun Jackson, who is now going to require defensive attention in the secondary from the New York Giants. They can't solely focus on Travis Fulgham, this emerging wide receiver, anymore. Now they got to pay attention to Jackson as well. I think from a matchup perspective, there's enough things that I think support the Eagles here where I have a mild little interest and mild little lean toward Philadelphia laying 4.5 in this game. But with the Giants, being a team that has been very good in the underdog role, the Eagles have been struggling to get wins, let alone win by margin. And that's the problem too. Maybe at 3 or 2.5 with the Eagles at home, I'm interested in them. 4.5, they not only have to win, but they have to win by upwards of a touchdown in this game. I don't know if the Eagles are a team I'm ready to trust to beat anyone by margin just yet. But I do think there are some things working in their favor matchup-wise where I'd lean a little bit out of the Eagles here, laying 4.5. As far as the total's concerned, it could go either way. I don't expect the Giants to move the ball up and down the field against the Eagles. The Eagles have faced a lot of better offenses and quarterbacks lately than what the New York Giants bring to the table. I mean, you look at Philadelphia, who they played early in the season. They played Jared Goff and the Rams. Last week they played Lamar Jackson and the Ravens. They've had to deal with some pretty decent offenses, and the Giants don't measure up to some of these offenses and quarterbacks that the Philadelphia Eagles have faced already this season. So it's very tough from a total standpoint. 45 it could go over, it could stay under. Neither result would really surprise me here in this game. But my strongest stance, if I were to say make one bet, side or total, it would be Philly minus 4.5. But I am not betting it, even though I lean to Philly. I'm staying off this game. I'll look at a few props. I will be on Richard Rodgers, definitely from a prop standpoint. Maybe even you look Carson Wentz over passing yards. He's been throwing the ball a lot lately. You would think he's going to have to throw the ball a lot tonight with no Miles Sanders. I'm not sure I want to rely on Boston Scott and Corey Clement at running back. I think he's going to be throwing the ball a lot tonight, Carson Wentz. So maybe you look at Wentz over passing yards, over completions as well. Those are props that make sense to me as well for tonight, Eagles, Giants. So I'm going to bet some props, but other than that, I'm passing from a side and total perspective on Thursday Night Football, Giants, Eagles. We go to college football, Sunbelt action, Arkansas State, Appalachian State, App State, 13.5 point home favorite, 69 the total. This total has been hammered up. It opened 63.5 and it's now 69. And a big reason for that is because we saw what Arkansas State's defense looked like last week, and really what they've looked like all season. They haven't been able to stop anybody. They gave up 52 points against Georgia State last week. And Blake Anderson, the head coach of the Red Wolves, he's had enough with this bad defense. He fired his defensive coordinator, David Duggan, after last week's game. So they're going to have a new DC. I don't know if that's going to make a damn bit of difference because this personnel has not looked like they're capable of stopping any capable offense this year, Arkansas State. However, as bad as they are defensively and as bad as they've been defensively this season, they're pretty good offensively. They can throw the football with their two quarterbacks who have split the reps this year, Lane Hatcher and Logan Bonner. They've combined for 551 yards passing last week against Georgia State, 7 touchdowns. They did a great job in the victory, moved the football at will against Georgia State, and that's why they were able to still win the game despite their bad defense. There's concerns to me for Appalachian State. They're the better of these two teams, clearly, and certainly the superior defensive team. And that's why they're double-digit chalk here tonight in this game, and they're at home. But the Mountaineers, they have not played a football game since September the 26th due to COVID-19 contractions within their team. Several players have had the virus. That's why they've had games postponed. So they have gone nearly a full month without playing this App State team. They've only played Marshall, Charlotte, and Campbell. Those have been their 3 games. They haven't faced a passing attack like they've seen from Arkansas State. So Arkansas State, throwing something at App State's defense that they haven't necessarily faced yet this year. And Arkansas State can score. And the long layoff has me worried that App State, especially in the first half tonight, is not on their game, is not sharp. This spot for Appalachian State, it's very similar to Houston when they played Tulane. Houston hadn't played a game in a month. The first game was in October. And in the first half, they were dreadful in that game. It took until the second half for them to really start playing better, shake the cobwebs out of their system, and get going. And then they ran Tulane off the field in the second half of that game. But in the first half, they were trailing at halftime. How about SMU and Memphis a few weeks ago? Memphis hadn't played in about a month due to COVID-19 issues. The first half against SMU, they were terrible. They were down big at halftime. And in the second half, they got going, rallied all the way to nearly come back to beat SMU, but SMU on a last-second field goal escaped with the win. But it took until the second half for Memphis to get their game going against SMU after a long layoff. I get the sense we could see that from Appalachian State tonight. I'd be leery about laying the double digits. I lean Arkansas State more than anything. I, in particular, like Arkansas State in the first half tonight. You can get Arkansas State 7.5. I took a plus 7.5 in this game with Arkansas State in the first half. Take advantage of an App State team that hasn't played in almost 4 weeks, almost a full month. And Arkansas State's got the offense. And I know their defense is pitiful. This Red Wolves team, they haven't been able to stop anybody. But the Appalachian State offense could be rusty. I know they got a good quarterback and Zach Thomas, a good offense, but they could be out of sync, out of sorts early because of the long layoff. And because of the Red Wolves firing their defensive coordinator, maybe that sparks the defense to at least bring somewhat of a better effort and performance to the table tonight, particularly early in the game after giving up 52 to Georgia State last week. So I think it's a decent spot there to go and look toward Arkansas State plus 7.5 in the first half tonight of that game against App State. I'd also lean to them for the full game as well. As far as the total goes, I understand, wanting to bet Arkansas State over the total at every opportunity, but with App State with the layoff, I don't know if their offense is going to be clicking early in the game. And I think Arkansas State might be able to, at least show a little bit better defense here early in the game tonight after firing the defensive coordinator. Maybe it gets the kids' attention that, hey, we got to be better on the defensive side of the football. So I don't love the over in this game, and especially now that it's moved 6 points and is 69.5 in most spots after opening 63.5. I definitely don't want the over at the current number. All right, that'll wrap up this edition of the Pub Sports Radio Ian Cameron Sports Report. Thank you for tuning in. Tomorrow will be a little bit of a longer show. We're going to do a lot on the Friday show tomorrow. We're going to have MLB World Series Game 3 preview. We're going to look at a couple college football games on Friday. We're going to do the Friday football six-pack, because you all know I like a good six-pack. 3 college games on Saturday. I'll preview those from a betting perspective, and 3 NFL games on Sunday. I'll preview those as well. The Friday football six-pack tomorrow on the Ian Cameron Sports Report right here on the Pub Sports Radio YouTube channel. Thank you to everyone for tuning in. I'm Ian Cameron. Have a great Thursday night. Good luck with all of your wagers. I'll see you again right here tomorrow on Friday for another edition, our final edition this week of the Pub Sports Radio Ian Cameron Sports Report.